everyone, my name is Eileen and I want to welcome you to our latest middles art project, Flower Power. Today we are going to be taking markers, tissue paper, and some special kind of floral tape, and we're going to make these cute little marker flower pens. So you should have already received your take and make bag here at the library. That's going to have most of the supplies that you need to complete today's project. You'll also need a pencil and a pair of scissors. So go ahead and grab those two items, a pencil and a pair of scissors. And in just a minute, I'm going to go over what's in your take and make bag, and then we'll get started with our step-by-step instructions for completing today's project. Are you ready to get started? Let's get to it. All right, so what I've done is I've laid out everything that's in the take and make bag. So you should have 6 colored markers, a roll of this green floral tape, and then a selection of different colored tissue paper. And then over here, I have my pencil and my pair of scissors that I'm gonna need in just a minute to start working on this project. And then in the take and make bag, there's also a half sheet of paper, and on the back side, which I've blown this up a little bit so you can see it a little bit easier on camera, there's gonna be this picture of 6 different flower outlines. And the reason that I've provided you with this is that when you go to draw and cut your petals for your flowers, you can do your petals in different shapes if you want. So for instance, with this one, I made them so that all the petals, they have kind of a pointy tip. So it's more like this one here that you see. But you could do rounded, you could do more of like a daisy where there's smaller petals. This one, I call them heart-shaped petals. And then this one, it's kind of got a little bit more of a square edge to it. Or you could create your own petal design. So this is where there's a lot of creative freedom with this project in terms of mixing and matching the colors, the petal designs, and then also mixing and matching different petal designs and different colors. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to make one flower marker today, and then you're gonna repeat that 5 more times after the video is over to make your 6 markers total today. And again, I just want to give you an example of what you can do, and then if you have other ideas for how to use these supplies to create your flower markers, that's great too. So I know with arts and crafts, there's always a lot of options, and if you're a very creative person and you come up with something I haven't mentioned, I would love to see a picture or video of what you've created. So what we're gonna do, the first thing that I'm gonna do at least, is I'm going to pick the marker that I want to start with, and I'm going to move all the rest over to the side. So I'm choosing to start with this magenta marker. So I'm going to put all the other markers aside. And then I am going to pick what color petals that I want to make for this flower. And I'm going to choose purple. Purple is my favorite color, so that is the one that I'm going to be choosing. And again, you could choose 2 different colors, 3 different colors. You can put all sorts of different colored petals on the same flower marker. It's totally up to you how you want to mix and match the different tissue papers and marker colors that we've given you, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and move these off to the side. And then I'm going to pull over my flower petal design sheet here. And for this one, I'm going to do the heart-shaped petals. I want to do something a little bit different than what I did for my sample here to practice. So what I'm going to do to start off with is I'm going to take this piece of tissue paper and I'm going to unfold it all the way. And it looks like I actually have 2 pieces, so I'm going to move this one off to the side. So you only need 1 sheet of tissue paper, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold it in half a bunch of times. And it doesn't really matter how exactly you wanna go about folding it. There's no specific way. You just wanna fold it so that we get a smaller piece. So we're gonna cut all our petals at one time. But you do want to line up all the corners. So again, the main thing you want to focus on here is really folding it in a good rectangle or square shape or whatever it ends up being here. So I folded it the hot dog way first and then the hamburger way. And again, we're just going to keep folding it until we get a size that looks like this, okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that pencil that I asked you to find, and we are gonna draw our flower petal shape onto our tissue paper, because that's gonna actually help us cut it out. I have a hard time when I don't have a line to follow with scissors in cutting anything out, so I'm gonna draw the best that I can this shape onto the tissue paper. And you don't have to worry about the circle in the middle. I'll show you how we're gonna kind of work with that a little bit later here in our video. So what I'm gonna do is, again, I'm just gonna kind of start by drawing some hearts or heart-shaped petals. Now, just to clarify too, just so you know, so we're not gonna cut 6 different petals. All 6 are gonna be on a single layer of this tissue paper that we've folded, okay? And the thing is this part doesn't have to be perfect, because what I figured out by practicing is that really no matter how you draw your petals, they're still gonna look really cool once they're on our flower, okay? Or on our marker to create our flower. And I'll try to show you a close-up of what I've actually drawn, because I think it's kind of hard to see from far away. So with my big drawing, I've drawn 5 hearts instead of 6 like on our example template here. But let me go ahead and show you. Let's see if you can see here. Can you guys see that? You can see the 5 different hearts that I've drawn. All right, so now the next step is I'm gonna work on cutting that out, all right? And again, each layer that we've folded is gonna be a separate layer that we tape to our marker here. So I'm gonna take my time here and cut out all of my petals. And if at any point during our video here today, you feel like I'm going a little too fast, just pause the video. I don't wanna rush you through this. Everybody crafts at a different pace. So just take your time. I just want you to have fun with this. And when you're making different choices for your project here today, again, just pause the video and then continue on when you're ready. And once you've done one flower with me here, I think you'll be able to do the rest on your own. I have total faith that you can do this. And if at any point you need help with this project, hopefully you can just ask an older adult or caregiver in your house, or an older sibling maybe. So if at any point you need some help, just ask someone else who's a little bit older that might be able to help you. Okay. So I am turning my tissue paper as I cut. I find that anytime I use scissors and I'm cutting things, I always turn my paper as I go. It's a little bit easier for me. But do whatever is easiest for you. And I think the more flower markers that you make here today, the better you'll get at making them. We always say practice makes better in our youth department. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of start to see some of my hearts that I've drawn there. And the important part about drawing and cutting your petals here, again, is that you want them to all stay connected as you're cutting them out. You don't want to cut out all the individual petals that you have drawn here, or that you can see here. Okay, so now I've finished cutting out my petals for my first flower marker. I won't be needing my pencil anymore, but you will need the marker, your petals, your scissors, and the floral tape for this next step, okay? And what I found is, because we drew on the first layer of tissue paper with pencil, now with the purple one you can't really see the pencil, but with the yellow example one that I made, you could definitely see pencil marks. So if you don't like to see the pencil marks, you have 2 options. You can either use your eraser on your pencil to erase those pencil marks, or you can just throw away that top layer, because there's still lots of layers of tissue paper that you'll have to fill your marker and make your petals, okay? So the next thing that we're gonna do is we are gonna cut an X with our scissors in the center of our layer of tissue paper petals, okay? So you wanna make sure that they're all lined up still, all right? And this is where you might need some help, depending on how old you are and how crafty you are. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna fold that in half one way, and I'm gonna take my scissors, and right in the middle, I'm gonna do my best here to cut a little slit, okay? So I've just cut a little line in, and then I'm gonna unfold my petals, and now I'm gonna fold them the opposite way. And hopefully you can see there's a little hole here now, a slit going this way. So now I'm gonna cut right into that slit to make the X. And that is where we're gonna start to thread our actual marker through our petals. So now you should have, hopefully you can see me stick my finger through the holes there. And you're gonna have these little like triangle flaps, and those are important to pay attention to, because as we wrap our tissue paper petals around our marker, that's what those little triangles are, what we're gonna use our green tape to tape them onto the actual marker. And hopefully that made some sense. So what we're gonna do is, I have found that doing one petal at a time is easiest. So what you'll do is you'll take your first petal, and I'm gonna hold it like this and take the cap side, okay? And you're gonna thread that down through the top of your hole that you've made. And what that's gonna do is, now that you've done it cap side down, your little triangles that you have to tape onto the actual marker are going to be underneath. So it's gonna be perfect for us to actually use this green tape to tape them on, all right? And I just realized I skipped a little step, so I'm just gonna set that down. And first what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut little strips of this green floral tape. Now, this green floral tape actually becomes sticky when we stretch it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut little strips that are about, I would say, the length of my pinky finger. So probably about 2 inches, 1.5 inches, okay? And I'm gonna cut, I think, 12 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you want the number of strips to match the number of layers of tissue paper petals that you have. So now that I've cut the little strips, I'm gonna take my first one, and I'm gonna take the first layer of my tissue paper petals, and I'm gonna put it right up at the very tippy top end of the marker. So all that you can see is that whatever color marker you have, that little end tip, that colored tip on it, okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this green tape, and we're gonna push it against one of the little triangle flaps that we've created, all right? And then you're gonna pull, and you wanna stretch it, because again, that's what's gonna kind of activate the sticky part, okay? And the first one is honestly the hardest to get on, and one of the most important. So again, if you need some help, just ask an adult or maybe an older sibling. But once you get going, it gets a little bit easier, I promise you that, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and put that right on there and get those flaps underneath, and then I'm just gonna hold it and stretch it. And it might look a little weird. Again, the first one might feel a little weird to get on, but once you get more of the petals on there, I promise you it's gonna start looking a lot more like a flower. It's a work in progress, just like with a lot of arts and crafts. You kind of, in the middle, things kind of start to look a little weird and you get a little insecure maybe, but I promise you that as you continue going, it'll start to look a little bit better. So I'm gonna show you another little close-up here of how this looks. All right, so let's see. So that's what I've got right now, okay? So we've got the colored tip there and just our first layer. All right, so now I'm gonna work on adding another layer and another layer and another layer until I don't have any more tissue paper petals. So again, I'm gonna take one of my layers, I'm gonna find my little slit, I'm gonna take the cap side, and push it down and thread that right up over the green part so that it smashes right into the petal that's on there already, okay? And you might have to hold it down with your finger, and then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna find one of those triangles, we're gonna put the green over, we're gonna start to pull, and we're just gonna wrap it all the way around. And if it starts to spin on you, because mine started to spin, like the first layer wasn't completely attached to the marker, you can just use another piece of this green stretchy material, the tape, the floral tape. You've got a lot of the floral tape for your 6 markers, so if you need more, just add more, okay? Just like with any arts and crafts project, it might work a little bit differently for you. So, there we go. I've got 2 of my layers on. So now I'm gonna take another layer and do the same thing. Thread the cap end through. And what's nice about this too is if you kind of, you don't necessarily want to line up your petals perfectly. You want to kind of like skew them and turn them a little bit. And that's what's really going to make your flower marker look really full and realistic, okay? So I'm going to turn it so that my hearts don't line up completely. And then again, so I've threaded my tissue paper, I found one of my little triangles, I laid that green strip of tape on, and now I'm going to pull on it while holding the end to activate the sticky. And then we're just going to pull and turn it all the way around until it's completely on there. So here we go, we're just going to keep going. And with this kind of floral tape, I did find that my fingers get a little sticky as we're doing this. So if you have to kind of wash your hands in between some of the layers, that's fine too. And then again, as you continue adding more and more of these layers, it'll start to look more and more like a real flower. And it'll become a lot more stable at the top too, the more layers that you end up adding. So. All right, what do we think so far? Isn't that pretty cute? I think that's pretty cute. Now, the best part about this project is you can either keep these markers for yourself, or you could give someone a bouquet of marker flowers as a gift. And the best thing about these is you don't have to water them, and they won't die like actual flowers do. You'll just get to use them until the ink runs out, which hopefully will be a while. And as I mentioned earlier, you could be doing a combination of different colors of tissue paper petals. So I could have added maybe some yellow heart-shaped petals or some blue heart-shaped petals in between my purple. I also could have done 2 different styles of petals, either in the same color or 2 different colors. So there's a lot of options to mix and match with this project. Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and cut off adding petals because I want to show you guys the final step for finishing your marker flower. So So once you've added all your petals and you feel really good about how the top looks, what we're gonna do is now we're gonna add our floral tape all the way down the rest of the marker. So what you're gonna do is you're not gonna cut your floral tape until you get to the bottom of the marker towards the cap. So again, I'm just gonna take my whole roll and I'm gonna kind of prep some by unrolling it. I'm gonna take the end and right where your last layer of the green tape is at the top of your marker, you're gonna go ahead and overlap this. And then you'll push down. And as you're turning your marker, you're gonna just pull and just layer this all the way down. And what I found is mine kind of goes on a diagonal, but you're just gonna go and you're gonna layer it and you're gonna pull and turn and pull and turn until your whole marker is covered. And then as you get to the bottom, as you get closer to the cap, what I did is I just took the cap off for a minute and then I kept rolling. And then I pulled really tight, and then once I got to the bottom, I cut this like that. And then what's gonna happen is when you put your cap on, it might push that green tape up a little bit, so just pull it a little bit tighter, and then again, it's just gonna kind of squeeze it up a little bit, which isn't gonna hurt anything. So there we go, we have a completed flower marker. And look how cute it looks next to my other flower marker that I have finished. All right, I want to wish you luck in finishing the rest of your markers and use all of the creative freedom that you have with this in terms of mixing and matching and picking different flower petal patterns. And I hope you have a lot of fun with this project as much as I did. Thank you all so much for joining me today for our latest middles art project, Flower Power. I hope you had all sorts of fun learning how to make your own flower markers. I know there was a lot of creative freedom with this one in terms of what color petals you wanted to make, what kind of shape you wanted to make those petals, and how you could combine all the supplies that we provided you. So we would love to see any videos or pictures of you completing today's project or your completed bouquet of flower markers. So if you wanted to send us any videos or pictures, you can send those to us at the email address going across your screen right now. And I hope to see you next time for another Middles Art. Bye for now.